The first thing I want to do, and I will watch that clock, is I would like to dedicate this 15 minutes that I've got to an inspirational teacher who was at this school as head of the art many years ago. We think that most of you won't remember her, but she was Dr. Wendy Dorr. She ran the art department, as far as I was concerned, as a guest artist, inspirationally, in that she had me in with another artist, so an artist and me as a dancer, to make work with you young people who were studying art at that time and maybe didn't know about dance. But we put dance and art together. And I can remember one really amazing day. It was a summer project. We were with the students for a week in the art department, which was over there. I'm pointing there because I remember it being there. And we made with newspaper, that was our media, the students made the most amazing costumes, props, objects. And I remember we ended up for one of the sessions in the field doing a jousting match with newspaper, with music and dance. So it was like Wendy was responsible for that. And she sadly has died. She but she has died, but I feel she's in this room and she's definitely here with me. So it's for Wendy that I'm spending this 15 minutes, of course, for you as well. I want to talk a little bit about dance and how I love it. I'm passionate about it, and I believe, actually, a midwife might be able to help me here, but I think it's the original art form. I think we were dancing before we're born. A musician might say, yeah, but we were singing too. But I'm clinging on to the fact we were dancing before we were born. It wasn't a formal dance, but we sure were moving. And I believe, as it says in the program, that my last dance will be my last blink, because I think any movement is a dance. So if you think dance is the thing that you do if you can do splits, or if your hair is in a bun, I have spent my life rule breaking and changing those stereotypes. So I love my subject and I hate it. I hate it for the stereotypes. I hate it for the fact that probably most of you in this room have said, I'm no good at dance. Why aren't you any good at dance? I can't dance. Why can't you dance? Because somebody either told you or you told yourself you were too fat, too thin, too old, had babies, couldn't possibly dance after you've had babies. And I'm spending my career, and I've got myself stuck in it now, obviously, proving that you can dance. I work in hospices. I work in prisons where people have very little room. I work all over the world. I use dance as the language rather than Japanese, as I don't speak it. So I translate into dance, but I also believe we're all dancers. And you're all dancers because you just got up for coffee and sat down again. If you'd done that in silence with a lovely piece of music, we'd have seen the whole room dancing. So I won't take it that nobody can dance. And I might. Somebody said, you'll get the audience dancing, won't you? And I said, no, I won't do that. I might, actually. So we'll see how we do. Don't worry, you won't have to get off your seats unless you really need to. All right, so I'd like to say the stereotypicality of dance that, I thought myself when I was a student, I wouldn't be a dancer past being 35 or 25, and that I would, obviously when I got grey hair, I wouldn't be dancing, and if I was a mother, I wouldn't be dancing. I made all these rules which are real. You all know them about shape and size. If I'm a poet, I don't stop being a poet. I'm a poet for all my life. But I'm in a subject where it presumed at the age of 30, I probably would be doing another career. I'm not, and I'm 65. And at 60, my career took a whole new move, and I've done 8 projects, 8 trips in Japan with Japanese dancers in the last 5 years of my life, and there's masses more to do. So I believe one of the biggest things I'd love to say to you is don't be frightened of rule breaking. And now, just because I'm a dancer, don't think, switch off because I'm interested in science. Because what I'm going to talk to you about and demonstrate, I hope, is people skills. So you can apply it to physics, you can apply it to midwifery. We've talked about movement and midwifery. Movement is fundamentally us. How do we get up in the morning? How do we go to bed? If we can't move with health and awareness, what do we do? So I've got these 2 things. I'm going on, before I run out of time, to this. I'm going to climb it a bit. Don't worry, I've got it myself health checked. I'm not going up to the top, but when I was about, I can see you better now. You can see me better. When I was at school, and certainly when I was deciding where I was going to go, the Royal Academy Dance was where I was going to go. I wasn't a very good ballet dancer, so I was going to go to the Royal Academy Dance, where I was going to teach ballet, because that was better than not doing it. I thought life was about climbing a ladder and getting to the top. And I really had this ambition that I would be as good as I could be, and it was a ladder that I was going to climb. And then quite early on in my 20s, in my career, I realized that a ladder is a really lonely place. I've got up here, I could go higher, but I think I could fall. I could fall off this ladder. So it doesn't mean I haven't got ambition. It just means I'm narrowing my roots. This ladder has only steps. It doesn't have anything out there. It's got nothing to hold on to up here. So if my career was only about reaching to the top, I've got an anticlimax. I've either got to fall off or get down. But that's it. So for career for me, is not my option. And it just narrowed it. It made me feel like my feet aren't on the ground, which they're not, and that I had only a limited amount of choices. If you can't do this, you have to do that. There are no choices. So quite early on, I abandoned my ladder, my metaphorical ladder, and that could apply to any career. And I, about 5 years later, evolved in my late 20s to the idea of tree. I didn't bring a real big tree, but I think, you know how sometimes people talk about there's an animal in you, and you all have different animals that we would be. Maybe you all have a different tree. So this tree is one that I relate to. I might not actually choose this if I was out in a wood, but it's the only tree I could bring to this session today. But this tree gives me direction upwards. Of course I can go up, but I can also go out. I can branch. The very word branching is fantastic. Branching out, all the things you talked about, Pete. You're branching, you know, every subject on your slides is here. Branches break. In fact, when I bought this yesterday in Homebase, she took off a broken branch. I said, leave it, because actually the broken branch, I have had many broken branches. And the most important thing, and I was going to reveal them, but my husband said it was being a bit mean on the tree, is the roots. So down here, squashed rather meanly in a pot, is a reflection of this shape. And my roots, and as I'm a contemporary dancer, my roots, the ground, is really important to me. Spread out and feed. So it works for me, this image, very well as a dance person, because I'm rooted, I'm grounded, my legs, my feet into the ground. My trunk has messages going up and down it, connecting root and branches, and my branches are all my choices. And they're not just necessarily from up here, it could be anywhere. So this feels, if a metaphor, if an image is something that triggers you and helps you remember something in the future, I think this is a goodie. And I use it in my personal life as well. So when anything is really fabulous, I think of this blossoming. If something's tricky, maybe the leaves are falling. Maybe if something disastrous is happening, maybe like a lightning shoot in a tragedy in a family, then maybe a whole section of the tree breaks. But actually, it is actually still living. And when I go, this particular tree looks like, if I look after it well, will still be around to go on. I don't know whether they bear fruit, but certainly they do bear fruit trees. They have seasons. I have seasons. But I also don't just stay in autumn. I go into spring, summer, autumn, winter. So there's all of that I do. So here, I'll just tell you a little bit about what I've done, and then I'm going to move, and maybe you'll move. But my career, I thought, as I say, would be linear, but it isn't. It's going out in different directions. So my work has taken me out to work in hospices with children. How can you use the word dance in a hospice if a child is in a hospice because they're near the end of life? How can you possibly talk about dance if dance is what you think about, which is high kicks and splits and showbiz? No, and actually in hospices, they're nervous about using the word dance. I do use it, but sometimes I cheat and I use the word movement because it's slightly less stereotypical. So of course I work in hospice, but we might work with breathing. We might have feathers because breathing is the only thing that child can do today in the children's hospice. And so the breath becomes the dance. The movement of the feather by one person moving it around the skin of somebody who can just about feel their skin and can breathe is essential. It's part of the dance that makes them still alive. So that's an extreme of a place where my dance is. I have children. I started in Oxford 26 years ago, a small group of classes for Oxford Youth Dance for my two children. And at the time, they were 5 and 8. And if somebody said to me, you'll be teaching dance every Saturday morning for the next 26 years, I'd have said, no, I won't be. I obviously won't be doing that. I am. And in fact, somebody's teaching for me this morning. I'm paying her to teach this morning my classes. Thousands of children have gone through dancing, and now their grandparents and their grandchildren are now dancing, so they're coming through. And my aim in my work isn't to produce dancers who become professionals, although I've got probably 9 boys particularly out there in the West End or wherever dancing now. But it is my aim is that I produce people who go through life and can celebrate the fact that they did dance as a child, they enjoyed it, and it helped them in their lives, and they can go through life saying, I can dance, rather than I can't dance. I think that's my main belief, that if we can all celebrate how we move, then we can all be alive and kicking so much longer and better. My work takes me, as you know then, into health setting. It also takes me right across the world, so as I said, to Japan, where I don't speak Japanese. I speak a few words. I'm not proud of it. What I'm proud of is that dance is a common language that you can use without knowing the other language. I've just had 21 dancers from Japan, all ages, in Oxford, just this last week, with 21 of my dancers. In 6 days, we made a 25-minute piece that we took to Wales and did at an international conference. And people were in tears because they were moved by the beauty of these two cultures coming together through movement as the common language and dancing together so beautifully, even though they can't talk to each other. So there's something essential about movement that feeds our souls and feeds our bodies. And with that, I'm looking at the clock because I realize it's counting down. It's all right, I'm not looking at the clock, yours. Anyway, I'm looking up there now. I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to ask you in a minute to put on the music. I'll just finish talking. So it's a track. From a CD I do have if you want to buy any. It's a track, my daughter's a musician. She's made masses of music for me over the years for work that I do. And it's a track called Back to the Sunshine. And I'm dancing to it because I think it's really powerful. I'm quite enjoying dancing to it at the moment. And it has a chorus. So it's verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, if you like. The chorus says, turn your back to the sunshine. And I just thought we could just as a group decide what the hell sunshine means for us. So for me, I'm going to give this to you. I think you'll hear me. There you go. For me, sunshine is something that goes like this, or something that goes like that. When you hear her singing sunshine and me moving it, you just join it. It happens 3 times. So I'm going to take my shoes off and let's go for it.
Not upset this mess around me. In a curious way, I'm evading joy. I turn my back on the sunshine to feel the strength of its heat. But if you ever come looking for me, wondering just what might have been, you'll find thousands of lights in a room but a white. You'll find just what you want to see. Imagine the car, imagine the castle, imagine the hours gone by. On horseback or storm the town hall, and watch as they fight, grey versus grey. I turn my back on the sunshine to feel the strength of its heat. But if you ever come looking for me, wondering just what might have been, you'll find thousands of lights in a room but a white. You'll find just what you want to see.
There was one more verse, but I'm looking at 59 seconds in the red. That was improvised. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to move to that and with you. So I hope you enjoyed it. My last point, you probably can hear me without this. And Emily, you've used the word already, and I think you used the word. It's passion. You can't be taught passion. You can't buy passion. You have to find passion. Passion in what you do keeps you doing it forever. You said you'd have your career again. You're still a midwife. If you can find passion and ownership of your passion, break rules, please, and celebrate your individuality and your uniqueness, you're on a winner. So thank you.